Hi everyone. On behalf of the VPA Legal Affairs, I will briefly present some aspects of data protection in transborder research. So I will say a few words about the international legal framework. Many countries updated their legislation recently. For instance, China issued a new data protection law in the, last year. This is called the PIPL, and it has extraterritorial effects. In the USA, many federal states issued a new privacy laws, such as in California, you have the CCPA, and of course in Europe, in 2018, a new European Union regulation entered into force that year. And finally, in Switzerland, we will have a new Data Protection Act in September 2023. And this law is close to the European Union regulation and will comply with the new Convention 108. I will present briefly what is the Convention 108 just after this slide. So to summarize, we might say that the world encompasses different visions about privacy. In the US, privacy is for now more related to consumer laws, and some governmental agencies, such as CIA, have extensive rights to access to your personal data for security reasons. In China, the obligations are probably stricter, but the government also have very extensive rights to your personal data. And in Europe, privacy is deemed as a fundamental right, and personal data is linked with the personality of the individuals. I will talk about the Convention 108, which is the sole and first legal instrument about privacy in the world. The Council of Europe is an international organization, and we should not confuse with the Council of European Union or the European Council, which are both European Union bodies. So the Council of Europe is an international organization composed of 46 members, including Switzerland. And the most important work of the Council of Europe is the European Convention on Human Rights, which gives individuals the right to lodge complaints with the European Courts of Human Rights in Strasbourg. The second important work made by this Council is the Convention 108, whose purpose is enshrined in its Article 1. The purpose of this convention is to protect every individual, whatever his or her nationality or residence, with regard to the processing of their personal data, thereby contributing to respect for his or her human rights and fundamental freedoms, and in particular, the right to privacy. So the original convention entered into force in 1985, and Switzerland ratified this convention in 1997, and this text entered into force in 1998 in Switzerland. Recently, this text has been revised, and now we are talking about the new Convention 108 plus. As you can see in this map, we see all the parties to this convention. We can notice that USA, Canada, China, and most of the African countries are not parties to this convention. And this is important because this convention has an impact to the lawfulness of data transfer, in fact. And if you are a member of the Convention 108, you can transfer freely your personal data to another member to this convention. But if you want to transfer personal data to a country which is not a member of this convention, you need to take additional safeguards in order to ensure a lawful transfer. So the modernized Convention 108 plus makes clear that the simple fact to have a legal basis is not sufficient to comply with the convention if you do not comply with the principle of proportionality. And of course, actually, there are other general principles with which you need to comply with. The first main principle is the principle of lawfulness. It means that no mandatory provision from the data protection field should be breached. The second principle is the principle of transparency and fairness. It means that the use of the data must be transparent by informing correctly the different people with some specific details. And fairness requires that no data should be processed without the knowledge of a person or against his or her will. The principle of purpose limitation means that personal data may only be collected for a specific purpose, and it must be recognizable for people. And any further processing of personal data must be compatible with the original purpose. Then you have other principles like the principle of accuracy or storage limitation. So the principle of accuracy means that you need to ensure that your personal data are up to date, and the principle of storage limitation means that you need to keep the personal data as short as possible. And finally, this convention provides for new rights, such as a new obligation of information, and of course, other rights, such as the right not to be subject to an automated decision without taking the view of the person. In this slide, I just provide for some important dates in the privacy fields. As you can see, recently there are a lot of new regulations because privacy becomes a very important topic, even in the research field. So some key takeaways. So if you must remember that the Convention 108 is the sole international legal instrument in privacy. You must remember also that the European Union regulation had a great influence in the world and served as an inspiration for many countries. And of course, despite that the research field is largely globalized, the law is based on the principle of territoriality. And it means that when you are collecting some personal data in a specific country, you need to comply with the law in force in that state. And for instance, if you are collecting personal data on social media, it may imply that several national laws may apply simultaneously. Regarding the services provided by the VPL Legal Affairs and the DPO, of course, we provide for some legal advice in data protection, in the context of a research project. We're also drafting data transfer agreements, data processing agreements, and etc. Several legal counsel are members of the Human Research Ethics Committee, and we are collaborating closely with the data protection officer at EPFL. She's responsible for the review of research projects, which implies high risks for data subjects for people. And probably the most important things that you need to retain from this presentation is the following link. So I invite you to consult this EPFL's webpage dedicated to data protection in the research field, and you will find a very useful guidance regarding privacy in research. And yeah, and that's it for me.